Dear students, welcome to Tungal online classes. So in the last video we discussed the connective tissue and their types. So especially in the last video we saw what is fluid connective tissue. Mainly we concentrated on fluid connective tissue, that is nothing but blood as well as lymph, right? So by that we finished that fluid connective tissue. Now we shall start with the specialized tissue, that is nervous tissue, right? As you know, dear students, so the nervous system, right? What is this nervous system comprises of? In the last year, in the previous year, so you have studied in detailed manner this nervous tissue as well as nervous system itself, right? So this nervous system, so nervous system that comprises of brain, spinal cord, right, and all the nerves. All these together form what? The nervous system, right? So this nervous system mainly consisting of what? Nervous tissue. Nervous tissue it consists of. This nervous tissue is the major part of this nervous system. This tissue comprises of into nervous system itself, right? So it makes the nervous system, right? So what is this tissue then? Nervous tissue. So it is a specialized tissue. Right? Meant especially for receiving the signals, or we can say stimulations from the external environment. Many of the stimulations that take place, stimulation and a response is the major function of this nervous tissue, right? So we receive many of the stimulations. What kind of stimulations? Some examples we can take. So if somebody touched you, it is sensed over here. So when you sense the touch, it is nothing but, so touch itself is the stimulation. So if you respond to that touch, right, so that is nothing but response to the stimulus. So is the major function of this nervous tissue, right? So it is arising from the ectoderm, right? So you know ectoderm. What is this ectoderm? It is one of the germ layers. It is one of the germ layers, right, from which this nervous tissue that arises from, right? As you know, 3 germ layers are there. First one is ectoderm, endoderm as well as mesoderm. So in that, so the nervous tissue itself arises from ectoderm, right? And this nervous tissue consisting of the cells. As you know, cells together form tissue, right? So this nervous tissue, it comprises of what? So some of the specialized cells, and those cells are of 2 types. How many types of cells are there in a nervous tissue? There are 2 types of cells that we come across in nervous tissue. That is, one is neurons. One is called as neuron and second one is called as neuroglial cells. So these are the 2 types of cells that we come across in nervous tissue, right? So nervous tissue, it is made up of specialized cells, and those cells are of 2 types. One is neurons and second one is neuroglial cells. Like this, there are 2 types of cells that we come across in nervous tissue, right? It is meant especially for what? It is meant especially for what? So it is meant especially for receiving the signals or the stimulations, and so we can say one more thing, so that is transmit the impulses. Transmit the impulses. Say for example, if you consider this one is the human brain. Okay, is the human brain. So if somebody touched you, any part of the body, if somebody touched you, then automatically that impulses that goes to the CNS, that is brain, and from the brain, what happens here? Returning of the impulses that comes to the muscles or the glands. So they are said to be as the effector organs, right? Effector organs. So like this, the impulses that goes to the central nervous system and so transmit the signals or the impulses back to the muscles or the glands. They are said to be as effector organs. They bring about some changes or responses. So they can give themselves. So this is how the nervous system that works itself, right? So this is about the nervous tissue, so which comprises of specialized cells called as neurons as well as neuroglial cells. First of all, we will start with the neurons. As we have studied in detailed manner related with this neuron, so in the last year only. So let us discuss the same structure of the neuron and different kinds of neurons over here now. Yes, so let us start with the neurons. So what these neurons are? Neurons are nothing but they are the structural and functional units of the nervous system, right? What these are? These are the structural and functional units of nervous tissue or nervous systems, right? They are the structural and functional units of nervous system. So they are called as what? Neurons. So what do these neurons do? So these neurons will do the same thing. What do? They are said to be as the primary function processing units. They are said to be as, and what do? They receive the signals or they receive the stimulus and they transmit the stimulus. So they transmit the responses to effector organs. This is the major function of these neurons. Neurons are nothing but these are the nerve cells. These are the structural and functional units of nervous system. So how do you say structural? Means here the nervous system is made up of these neurons mainly. And how do you say it is functional unit? So because it receives the stimulations from sense organs. So it receives the stimulations from the sense organs and transmit the responses or the impulses to effector organs. Effector organs like glands or muscles. If somebody touched you, that is sense. So that sense or the impulses that goes along these neurons to the central nervous system, where the processing of that touch takes place and response is transmitted through these neurons to the muscles of the hand, so that if anybody pricked with the help of pin on your hand, immediately you get back your hand. So this is the response which is given by the effector organs. They may be sometimes glands, they may be sometimes muscles, right? So like this. So these neurons would work, right? So I hope what these neurons are, you came to know very clearly, right? And these neurons are of different kinds of neurons that we come across over here. So types of neurons, right? Different types of neurons are there based on their functions. So based on their function, they are of different types. Based on the processes which arise from the cyton. What is cyton? What is axon? Already you have studied that one. So, but I am going to explain that one in the next part of this video, of course. So, based on the number of processes arising from the cytons, based on number of processes arising from cyton or cell body, it is, right? So there are different types of neurons that we come across over here. So what are those neurons based on the processes arising from the cyton? So there are different types. One is unipolar neurons. The second one is bipolar neurons. The third one is multipolar neurons. So like this, there are three major types of these neurons. First one is unipolar neuron, bipolar neuron, as well as multipolar neurons. So what do you mean by unipolar neuron? So these are different types of neurons in which there arise one or two number of processes, right? So mainly there are two processes which are usually arising from one neuron. So then what do you mean by unipolar neuron? See here, this is a common point. This is cyton. This is cyton. So from this common point, there arises the processes over here. If the origin of dendrites as well as axon that take place from a common point, dendrites is one type of processes, axon is one type of processes. So if they are arising from a common point, then this kind of neuron is called as unipolar neuron. It is called as, right? This is one type of neuron. And what do you mean by bipolar neurons? So bipolar neurons, as the name suggests, so from the two poles arising two processes, one is axon, one is dendron. So like this is the cyton from which arises one dendrites as well as axons. So if the processes arising from two poles, then it is called as bipolar neuron, right? This is another type of neuron. And multipolar neuron, as you have studied in the last class, that is in the 10th standard. So how is the structure of this multipolar neuron? You can see over here. Okay. This is nothing but the cytron part. Okay, and this has the myelin sheath. Okay, so this is nothing but multipolar neuron, right? From many poles arising the dendrites as well as axon are the two processes. So such kind of neuron is called as multipolar neuron. It is called as this way. So neurons, they have been classified into three types based on what? Based on the number of processes which are arising. So right here, both the processes, one is dendrites and the one is axon, arising from a common point, it is unipolar. So arising from 2 points, that is 2 poles, it is bipolar, and many poles, it is multipolar neuron. Like this, there are different types of neurons based on the processes which are arising, number of processes which are arising from the cytron itself, right? So this is about the types of neurons. One thing, there are different types of neurons that we come across. One is unipolar neuron. What is that? Unipolar neuron. So unipolar neuron is the type of neuron in which, so there are two processes or two nerve fibers are arising from a common point. This is the common point. So one is the dendrites and the one is axon, like this. So only two processes which are arising from the common point, it is called as unipolar. And bipolar neuron is the type of neuron in which, so two nerve fibers are arising from two poles. So this is one pole of the cytron and this is another side of the cytron, pole of the cytron. So this is bipolar. Multipolar in the sense that here more than two number of the processes are arising from different poles. So hence it is called as multipolar neuron, it is, right? Now we shall start with the next classification of the same neurons based on their function, right? Classification of neurons based upon the function, right? Classification of neurons based on the function. See here, so there are different types of the neurons that we come across based on the function. So first one is sensory neurons. Sensory neurons. What these sensory neurons are? These are the neurons which are receiving the information or the stimulus, right, or the impulses from the sense organs, from the receptor organs, they are also called as, and so they send the same information to the brain or the central nervous system. So it is said to be as the sensory neurons. What they are named as? Sensory neurons. These are the type of neurons which bring or receive the impulses, from the receptor organs or the sense organs like eyes, skin, tongue, etc. These are the called as sense organs. They receive the information, right? Receive the impulses from the receptor organs, that is sense organs, and send it to brain, or you can say CNS, central nervous system. So such kind of neurons are called as sensory neurons. Totally what we understand from these type of neurons is, these type of neurons are receiving the signals, are receiving the impulses from the sense organs, right? And they send themselves to the central nervous system. These are sensory neurons. So in the central nervous system, where the information is processed, so this is very important. In brain only, the information what is received from the sensory neurons is processed over here. So these are one type of neurons. And second type of neurons, motor neurons. These are another type of neurons. So which transmit the processed information from the CNS to the effector organs. These are the type of neurons which transmit the information from sense organs, from the brain to, so transmit the information. What kind of information it is? Processed information from brain to effector organs. Which are called as effector organs? That is glands as well as muscles, right? So these are another type of neurons, motor neurons. And third one is interneurons. What are the third type of neurons? Interneurons. What is interneurons? These are the specialized neurons which receive the information from the sense organs, so through sensory nerves, and transmit the information through motor nerves, right? Such kind of nerves are called as interneurons. So these are the neurons which receive the information from sensory nerves, and transmit it to the effector organs through motor nerves. So such kind of neurons are called as interneurons. So these are the three types of neurons based on their function. So one is sensory neurons, they receive the signals or the impulses. So from the sense organs to the brain, and motor neurons, they transmit the processed information to the effector organ, right? And interneurons, they receive and transmit, right? They are interlinked one. This is how we classify the neurons into three types based on the functions. We shall start with the structure of a typical multipolar neuron itself, right? So this multipolar neuron has three major parts. One is called as nucleus containing part called as cyton, and second one is called as short extensions from the cyton itself called as dendrites, and long extension or long processes called as the axon. So these are the three major parts that we come across in one multipolar neuron, right? So what are the three parts? There are three parts that you come across here. One is nucleus containing cyton, or it is called as cell body, and the second one is the dendrites. These are the small short processes which are arising from the cyton, and third one is axon, right? Axon. These are the three major parts that we come across in one neuron. So first of all, we will start with the cyton or cell body. It is nothing but it is oval or spherical shaped, right? Shaped structure it is, or cell it is, right? Oval or spherical shaped cell, and this oval or spherical shaped cell, this oval or spherical shaped is uncovered with the plasma membrane called as neurolemma. The plasma membrane of this cyton or cell body is called as neurolemma, and right. So see here, neurolemma is nothing but it is the plasma membrane, and the cytoplasm of this neuron is called as cytoplasm of this neuron is called as neuroplasm. What it is known as neuroplasm, and this neuroplasm has centrally located nucleus. What it is having? Centrally located nucleus. Centrally located nucleus is present over there, and so this cytoplasm contain, there are some dark granules. It contains, neuroplasm contains dark granules, and those granules are known as Nissls bodies or Nissls granules they are called as, and these granules even they extend into the dendrites even, right? So dark granules called as Nissl granules, they are also called as tigroid bodies. They are also known as. So this is about what? The granules present inside the cyton, right? So this cyton from which arise two processes, right? From cyton, two processes are arising. One is called as short dendrites and long axon. This is called as axon. These are called as the short highly branched structures are called as dendrites. One is the dendrites, second one is axons. So like this, so from cyton two processes are arising over here. And one more thing is this cytosol consisting of characteristic fibrils within it. So what it consists of? A characteristic fibrils are present over here, and these fibrils are called as neurofibrils. Or these are neurofibrils. Very important point. So these neurofibrils play very important role in, right? One important point. So that is, they play very important role in transmission of the impulses, right? So that is the major function of these neurofibrils, right? Neurofibrils are also present in the cyton. And one more thing is, from these dendrites, it receives the impulses to cyton. From this cyton, the impulses are sent through the axon, right? Always the receiving of the impulses take place through dendrites, and it reach cyton. From the cyton, it is transmitted through axon to the next neuron. Okay, so that point to be noted over here. The impulses are received to cyton from dendrites, and impulses are transmitted through axon from cyton. From the cyton, the impulses are sent to the next neuron through axon itself, and the impulses are received from the dendrites to the cyton. This is how the impulses that are conducted by this multipolar neuron itself, right? So this is the fact what you should know, right? This is all about the one part of this multipolar neuron, that is cyton. Next one is dendrites. Next one is dendrites. What are these dendrites? These are the highly branched short processes which are arising from the cyton, right? These are highly branched short processes arising from cyton, right? So these short processes are uncovered with, they are uncovered with the synapses. What is synapses? So later we'll see, right? So later we'll see in the next chapter also, in the nervous coordination, there we study in detailed manner this. So neuron itself, once again how does it work, everything we'll study. So first of all, you remember that, so dendritic ends are uncovered with synapses of another neuron itself, right? So these dendrites are uncovered with the synapses. Okay, and the next point, very important one, these short processes that carry the information or impulses to cyton, right? So they carry the impulses, these carry the impulses from the impulses to cyton. They carry the impulses to cyton. Okay, so these are nothing but dendrites itself. These are nothing but dendrites. Short processes these are. Next one is axon. Next one is the axon. So it is the long process which arises from the cyton. So it is one of the long processes arising from cyton. So that long one is called as axon, right? So this axon is encovered with the plasma membrane. It has the plasma membrane called as axolemma. It has plasma membrane called as axolemma. It has plasma membrane called as axolemma, and it has cytoplasm. It has cytoplasm called as exoplasm. What it is called as exoplasm. It has cytoplasm called as exoplasm, and it has a cell membrane called as axolemma. Right? These are very important points to be noted over here. And sometimes what happens here? So this axon is coated with a thick layer which is made up of myelin sheath. Means here the axon is uncovered with myelin sheath. It is uncovered with myelin sheath. Sometimes some of the neurons, remember, this is more important aspect. Some are non-myelinated one, some are myelinated one. And this myelin sheath is present on this axolemma, right? So this is the point to be noted over here. This myelin sheath is discontinuous sometimes, right? It is discontinuous here to here. So at regular intervals, it is discontinuous at regular intervals on the axon part. So that discontinued part, which makes a nodal region, right? Since this is discontinuous, it makes a node-like structure, and that node-like structure is called as node of Ranvier, right? So one thing, right? On the region where this myelin sheath is present, there the transmission of impulses doesn't take place. Hence, this myelinated sheath acts as an insulator. What it acts as? Myelin sheath acts as insulator. It acts as an insulator, right? So then how does the impulse that pass through? So these myelinated axons through which very fast movement of the impulses that take place, right? If non-myelinated axons are there or non-myelinated neurons are there, in that the transmission of impulses take place very slowly when compared to these myelinated one, right? Point to be noted. Why it is so? Neural control and coordination in that chapter we will study in detail, right? So myelinated axons in which fast movement of the impulses take place, non-myelinated doesn't take place. Point to be noted then. And one more point. So this myelinated part of this axon is encovered with a glial cell. A glial cell, and that cell is so thin. So plasma membrane it has. So it is so thin, this cell is so thin that so the presence of the nucleus so makes a bulge at the region where the nucleus is present. So that bit of a cell is called as scavenger cell. What it is called as? Scavenger cell. Right? So scavenger cell. Scavenger cells are present over here. And so this axon ends with a branch structure called as telodendria. Telodendria is called as. The terminal part of the axon is called as telodendria, and the terminal part of this telodendria so which makes a button-like or bulb-like structure, and that bulb-like structure is called as synaptic bulb. Synaptic bulb it is called as. That is called as synaptic bulb it is called as. Bulb-like structure it makes, and that bulb-like structure is called as synaptic bulb, through which means mainly this synaptic bulb mainly consisting of, if it is the telodendria, it makes a bulb-like structure, and this contains many number of mitochondria as well as secretory vesicles. Secretory vesicles are there as well as mitochondria are there, so they are rich in number, and this is the bulb which help in transmission of information from this axon or this neuron to the next neuron. Is that very clear? Synaptic bulb it is called, and the terminal part of the telodendria ends with a bulb-like or button-like structure called as synaptic bulb. So now it is very clear how the structure of this multipolar neuron is, right? So this is all about the multipolar neuron. Okay, so we shall start with neuroglial cells. So these are the specialized cells associated with the nervous tissue, and these cells are meant specially for protection, support as well as nourishment of the cells of the nervous tissue, right? So this is more important aspect. These are specialized cells. These are specialized cells associated with the nervous tissue. These are associated with nervous tissue, and these are meant especially for nourishment, protection, as well as the support, right? And these cells are more numerous in number. They are more in number when compared to the nerve cells or neurons. So they are usually 3:1 in number, right? So these are more in number compared to nerve cells. Usually these are 3:1 in number. So these very complex processes, and but these do not have any. So axons or dendrites, these do not have axons and dendrites. So this is more important aspect to be remembered, right? So this is about these neuroglial cells. These are the common characteristic features of neuroglial cells, and these are of three kinds. These are of three kinds in nervous tissue. So there are three types of neuroglial cells out there. One is astrocytes. Second one is oligodendrocytes, and third one is microglial cells. Microglial cells. First one, what are astrocytes? As the name suggests, these are the smaller cells, smaller one kind of neuroglial cells, which have many number of processes. Hence, these looks to be as a star in shape. Hence, these are called as astrocytes. Right? First one is astrocytes. These are small cells with many processes. Hence looks to be as stars. Hence these are called as astrocytes. Right? And these have complex processes. These have complex processes, and the function of these one. So the main function of these astrocytes is nothing but to maintain the chemical, right? So the chemical, neuronal chemical or the chemical component that creates the chemical environment. So there is a need of appropriate chemical environment for neuronal signaling. So that is maintained by these specialized cells, right? So means these specialized cells help in maintenance of the chemical environment for neuronal signal. So these help in maintaining chemical environment for neuronal signaling. Neuronal signaling. This is the major function of these astrocytes, right? So next one is oligodendrocytes. Yes, oligodendrocytes. So these are also a kind of the neuroglial cells, and these cells have very small processes, and these are restricted to brain as well as spinal cord. Of course, these astrocytes are also restricted to brain as well as spinal cord, right? These are restricted to brain processes, short, fine processes. These have short, fine processes, right? So these oligodendrocytes have one important function. They perform one important function. That is nothing but that makes the myelin sheath. That is, the fatty myelin sheath is created or made by these oligodendrocytes. These form myelin sheath around the axons of some neurons. Why? Because myelin sheath is present in only myelinated neurons, not in non-myelinated neurons. That's why this myelinated sheath is made only in some of the neurons, I said. Right? So this is the major function of these oligodendrocytes. Next one is microglial cells. Microglial cells. These are very small cells with delicate fine processes, right? And these cells have very fine delicate processes, and these are acting as phagocytes. So phagocytes are those specialized cells which engulf the pathogens, right? So they engulf the pathogens directly and digest them intracellularly, means within the cell, and waste products are being thrown out of the cell. Such kind of cells are said to be as phagocytes, and these are the microglial cells said to be as the phagocytes. These are phagocytes, means they engulf the pathogens, right? So, and these are also acting as scavengers. What they are acting as? Scavengers. Why they are acting as the scavengers? The question arises. Why? Because these are the specialized cells. These are the specialized cells that remove the waste products or the waste materials, that is cellular debris. Cellular debris has been removed by these cells, hence these are acting as the scavengers, as the bacteria as well as fungus are acting as the scavengers. Why? Because they digest the organic waste or the dead and decaying organic matter. So that's why they are acting as scavengers. In the same way, in nervous tissue, whatever the cellular debris is there, whatever the cellular waste products are there, they have been removed by these specialized cells, that is microglial cells. So that's why these are called as cellular scavengers, right? So these are the three major types of what? So the neuroglial cells. These are associated with the nervous tissue. I hope you are so clear with the nervous tissue. In this, so you will get a 5-mark question, that is explain briefly the structure of the neuron, that is multipolar neuron itself. Definitely it occurs in the examination. Prepare well. So, and next one is organ and organ systems. Next topic is organs and organ systems. In this chapter, so this is very important aspect. This is one part of this chapter in which what are organs made up of? Organs are all made up of the tissues, right? So all kinds of tissues together form the organs, and organs together form organ systems. Say for example, digestive system is there. It contains oral cavity or buccal cavity, right? Next one is pharynx, esophagus, stomach, small intestine, large intestine, anus. These are all parts that we come across. All these organs organized together form one system called as a digestive system. So that way, so many number of systems are present in different animals. Especially we take so lower animals for the study. So that's why in this chapter, so we take 3 type studies of respective animals. They come under respective groups of animals. So one is Annelida group that contains mainly the earthworm, right? Earthworm is studied over here, right? It's a digestive system, respiratory system, excretory system, so reproductive system. All these are the systems that we study thoroughly in this chapter. And the next one is cockroach, but cockroach is deleted from syllabus nowadays. And the next one is the frog. So frog as well as earthworm will study in detailed manner. Right? So all the systems, organs and organ systems will study in detailed manner in the next video. Thank you.